Hey guys, Kingdom Airsoft here, and in this video we're going to be discussing choosing the right BB pellets. Now we're only going to be discussing 6mm Airsoft pellets, and they ultimately do affect performance, and the right pellets do depend on your own requirements. And we'll be discussing everything necessary for you to make the right decision. And for those more experienced at Airsoft, we're also going to be discussing the difference between the top brands, how they're marketed, and the manufacturing end, and this will be covered later on in the video. Now, first things first, you need to know the difference between good BBs and bad BBs, and we're going to be discussing what not to buy. First of all, you never want to use bad quality pellets, so never buy bad quality pellets. Some of them have holes in them, dimples, dents, bubbles, they may be the wrong size, they may be dirty, they may have large seams in them, which are basically subtle imperfections that you won't be able to see, and bad BBs are a big no. Bad BBs, they may be polished to hide the seams, and if they're polished they just look a bit shiny to hide the bad quality. If you use them, they'll cause blockages, they may break your gearbox and internals, they may shatter inside your gun, and they may also shatter on impact. So if you fire at someone with mesh goggles, then it will shatter and go all in their eyes, and they are not worth using. And you can't just pick out the best of a bad bunch if you do buy bad quality BBs, because the imperfections are very subtle and are not obvious. So our advice is to stay away from using bad BBs. And now on to good pellets. Now, good pellets are the opposite of bad pellets, obviously, and they are virtually perfectly spherical with a very small intolerance of about 1/100th of a millimeter, meaning they are almost exactly 6mm in diameter. They are also polished, so they do look shiny, and they are seamless and are free of manufacturing imperfections. And if you do use good quality pellets, they will feed well, they'll fire well, and you won't have any problems with them. Now, something else that you need to be aware of are unbranded products. Now, there's usually a reason why a product may not have a brand on it, and usually this is because the product sucks. No one will want to associate their brand with a bad quality product because it will damage the reputation of the brand. Now, unbranded products, they may typically be characterized by bad spelling, a bad design, or they may have manufacturing terminology on the product. And if you look at the screen now, this is a very typical bad quality unbranded product. I mean, the spelling is bad. Cautions of body hurt, hurt to the eyes and hurt to the hands. That is very typical of a bad quality product. If they can't even make the packaging correctly, then think of what the product quality is going to be like. Now, another thing that you need to be aware of is counterfeits. Counterfeits are basically copies of genuine brands of pellets. Now, sellers try to copy the packaging of a genuine brand and make buyers believe that they are buying the genuine brand of pellets. Now, this does infringe the owner's trademarks, and they may have bad quality pellets inside them. Now, counterfeits are sometimes quite hard to identify, but usually you should look at the seller's reputation and the feedback, and counterfeits are something you definitely need to look out for. And something else you also should note is, if you do buy a rifle or a gun or whatever, sometimes there will be BB pellets included in a little bag, and more often than not we would say they are bad quality. Even if you buy a good quality gun, the pellets may not necessarily be good quality. Not in every case, but our advice is to always throw away a small bag of pellets if you buy a gun and they are included, because they are not usually good quality. Pellets come in various different weights, and generally speaking, the heavier the pellets, the higher the range and degree of accuracy. Now, 0.12 gram pellets are the most common lightweight. They are of a less quality than the heavier weights, and they are lighter, so they are more inaccurate, but they're probably fine with cheap springers that you don't mind if they break, and they are adequate for amateur target shooters, and are fine with claymores, mines and grenades and other pyrotechnics. but we would advise against using them with better quality guns that you want to take good care of, because they are of a less good quality. Now 0.2 gram pellets are better quality, and they are ideal for typically AEGs, gas guns and springers, and they are the cheapest high quality BBs and are amongst the most popular weights. Now 0.23 gram and 0.25 gram pellets, they are pretty much the same as 0.2 gram pellets, although they are slightly more expensive, but they do have better accuracy and a better range. So these are ideal for AEGs and gas guns. Now 0.28 grams and heavier, these are heavyweight pellets and are ideal for sniper rifles and high powered guns. They are more expensive, but the range is much better and the accuracy is also better. Now again, just to summarize, as a rule of thumb, the heavier the pellets, the higher the range and accuracy, and probably the higher the cost. Now onto the types of pellets. We're going to be discussing the most common types only. And okay, the standard pellets are the most common type of pellet, or one of the most common types anyway, and they are coated in a non-biodegradable plastic, and they are harmful to the environment if they're not collected after use. But if you're indoors and playing CQB or whatever, and you can clear up all the pellets, or the skirmish site can, then they are fine and are one of the most popular pellets. Other than that, there's not much to really say, they're just standard plastic pellets. Now biodegradable pellets, these are more environmentally friendly obviously, and they decompose quicker than standard pellets. Now the time taken to decompose does depend on the weather, and one thing you do need to consider if you buy pellets before you do buy is that some skirmish sites they only accept biodegradable pellets. For example, in a situation where all the pellets cannot be collected after a battle because it's better for the environment. Now onto tracers. Now tracers are glow in the dark pellets, and they are used in dark environments, and it's quite obvious for your opponents to identify or trace where the pellets came from, because they do glow in the dark. They are quite easy to see. Now non-tracers, they are obviously the opposite of tracers, and they're referred to as invisible pellets, and they're basically just standard pellets which are just dark in colour. For example, black pellets, they are good with sniper rifles, as it's more difficult for your opponents to identify the origin of fire. So if you fire a pellet, your opponents may not know where the pellet came from which direction. And but one drawback is that it's more difficult for the shooter to aim or see the projectile once it has been fired. Now there are other type of pellets as well, such as paintballs, markers and all that stuff, but these are much less common. Now we are going to state the obvious, and that is to never reuse any pellet ever. Never reuse even the best quality pellets, because if you do, they may be damaged after they are fired, and if you insert a damaged pellet into your weapon, it may split somewhere inside your weapon and cause all sorts of problems. Not only that, if you reuse pellets, they may be dirty and you may spread dirt throughout your weapon, in the gearbox or in the barrel or wherever, and this can cause all sorts of problems. So never ever even think about reusing pellets. If you do reuse pellets, then you'll also void any warranty you have with us, and you'll probably void any other warranty you have with any other retailer. They are not worth reusing. Now, as a rule of thumb, the higher the price you pay, the better the quality you will get. Now, you want to avoid using cheap pellets because they suck, but you don't necessarily have to spend the top price to get the best quality. Now think about some of the best brands out there. Some of the best brands, they are world-class pellets, they're great quality, they've got great reputation, they've got great packaging, many people only trust the top brands, but they are very expensive. Now to get straight to the point here, some, and I highlight the word some, of the leading brands, their pellets are the exact same quality as our pellets and other less expensive brands of pellets. Now this is because they use the same actual manufacturer as us and other less expensive brands, and they are the exact same pellets. If you open a bag of some of the top brands of pellets and some of our pellets, they are the exact same pellets. Now some of the top brands are just the same products but with different packaging, a stronger brand and a higher price. It really is as simple as that. Now what we want even experienced airsofters to know is that from a manufacturing perspective, there are actually only a few top quality manufacturers of pellets. And that means that there's not a lot of choice for some of the best brands to pick a manufacturer. So some of the best brands use the same actual manufacturer, and therefore they are the same actual products. And we do know all about the manufacturing end. We have tested samples from every manufacturer. They don't shatter on impact, they feed well, etc., and they're virtually the same quality. Now if you don't believe what we're saying, test some of our pellets and make a video of your findings. If we weren't confident in this, we wouldn't have invested tons of money in our pellets, and skirmish site owners wouldn't use our pellets, that is. Now to summarise, the higher the price, the better the quality, but you don't necessarily have to spend the top price to get the best quality. Now just to wrap everything up quickly, only use the best quality pellets. The more suitable weight and type of pellets depends on your requirements and your weapon. Never reuse any pellet ever, and you don't have to spend the top price to get the best quality. Now thank you ever so much for watching. We hope this was helpful. If you did find it helpful, please hit the like button and please connect with us by subscribing.